Hey, coin collectors! Have you ever looked at your old change jar and thought, I wonder if there's something worth a fortune in here? Well, I'm here to tell you that sometimes the answer is yes, and I'm about to blow your mind with one of those coins. You see, today we're talking about the 1981 P. Washington quarter, and trust me, this is not your average quarter. This bad boy is worth a whopping $2.2 million, and you won't believe the crazy story behind how this quarter became so valuable. Now, I don't know about you, but if I could just find one of these coins in my pocket change, I'd be retiring to a beach somewhere, living the good life. But before you go rummaging through your loose change, let's break down what makes this quarter so special and how you can identify one if you've got it hiding somewhere in your collection. First off, let's talk about what makes the 1981 P. Washington quarter so rare and valuable. The short version? It's all about a tiny little mistake, and when I say tiny, I mean tiny. In 1981, the U.S. Mint struck a batch of Washington quarters with a P Mint mark. That's right, the P Mint mark, which is a hallmark of the Philadelphia Mint, is what makes this coin stand out. But here's the kicker, not many of these 1981 P quarters ended up in circulation. The ones that did are incredibly rare, and when you factor in the rarity, condition, and demand for certain years of coins, the price tag goes through the roof. We're talking $2.2 million, people. Now, I can already hear you asking, but how the heck do I know if I've got one of these rare coins? That's the million-dollar question, right? Well, here's a trick. The key is to examine your coin closely. These quarters have a specific design flaw that sets them apart from other Washington quarters from the same time. But honestly, you're probably not going to spot it just by glancing at it. So, grab a magnifying glass, or even better, a jeweler's loupe, and start scrutinizing that coin. You're looking for a specific combination of wear and rarity that makes the 1981 P quarter stand out. If you see a good amount of wear and your coin's still in decent condition, it could be worth a small fortune. Now, let's backtrack a bit. You might be wondering, how did I find out about this particular coin in the first place? Funny story. A few years ago, I was at a local coin show. There were tables everywhere with dealers, collectors, and people just like me scouring through stacks of coins in hopes of finding a hidden gem. As I was making my way through the crowd, I overheard a dealer talking about a 1981 P. Washington quarter that had just been sold for a mind-blowing price. Of course, I thought they were exaggerating, because who could believe that a quarter from 1981 was worth millions? Later that day, I went home and started researching it, and sure enough, there it was, this rare coin that was practically a lottery ticket. It was like someone had hidden a treasure right under my nose, and I had completely missed it. But I didn't give up. I went through my collection, pulled out every Washington quarter I could find, and examined them like a detective on a mission. While I didn't find a million-dollar coin yet, I did learn a ton about what makes coins like the 1981 P so valuable. So what can we take away from this? Well, first off, it's all about being on the lookout for those little-known rarities. A lot of us have coins in our collections that could be worth a lot more than we think. Sometimes it's a minting error, other times it's just an extremely low mintage year. But in the case of the 1981 P. Washington quarter, the value comes from a combination of rarity, demand, and just the right conditions. Finding one of these coins isn't easy, but when you do, it's a game changer. Let's talk a little more about the market for these kinds of coins. While the value of rare coins can fluctuate, certain quarters like the 1981 P have proven to hold their value and even increase over time. It's one of the reasons I'm always telling people to invest in coin collecting as a hobby. It's not just about the fun of finding a unique coin, it's about making a smart investment. Imagine holding on to a 1981 P. Washington quarter for a few decades and seeing its value skyrocket. You'd be sitting pretty. Now I get it. You're probably thinking, okay, I'm sold, but how do I actually find these coins? Well, the first step is to educate yourself. There's a whole world of rare coins out there, and if you know what to look for, you're halfway to a gold mine. Coin dealers, estate sales, and even your local bank could be gold mines for finding valuable quarters. Keep your eyes peeled for coins with odd mint marks, unusual years, or any noticeable wear. Even if you don't find a 1981 P. Washington quarter, you might stumble upon something else that's worth a pretty penny. And speaking of pretty pennies, don't forget to keep track of your collection. It's not just about finding rare coins, it's about properly storing and preserving them. A coin in poor condition is never going to fetch a high price, no matter how rare it is. So invest in some proper storage supplies like acid-free holders and treat your coins like the treasure they are. Alright, folks, I know I've given you a lot to think about today, but here's the thing. Coin collecting isn't just about finding rare coins like the 1981 P. Washington quarter, it's about the thrill of the hunt, the joy of learning, and the satisfaction of knowing you're part of a long tradition of collectors who've been doing this for centuries. So, before you go digging through your change jar, keep an eye out for those rare, valuable coins that could turn your collection into a small fortune. And if you want more tips, tricks, and insider knowledge about coins worth money, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join me on this coin collecting journey. We've got a lot more valuable coins to cover, and I promise you won't want to miss a single one. Who knows? The next $1 million coin might be hiding in your pocket right now. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and remember, collect smart, stay curious, and maybe one day you'll find yourself with a $2.2 million quarter in your hands. Hey, guys! Have you ever looked at a coin in your pocket and thought, what if this thing's worth a small fortune? Well, I'm here to tell you that you might actually have a gold mine in your change jar without even knowing it. Yep, today we're talking about a coin that could be worth $2.3 million, and it's not some ancient Roman coin or a gold doubloon. It's the 1979 D. Washington quarter dollar. Sounds too good to be true, right? I get it, I was skeptical at first, too, but trust me, this quarter isn't just a random piece of pocket change. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to spot this rare gem, and who knows? You might just find one hiding in your collection. Alright, let's break it down. You're probably wondering, what's so special about the 1979 D. Washington quarter? It's just a quarter, right? Well, yes and no. It's actually the 1979 D mint mark that sets this coin apart. So why does this little mint mark have the potential to make you a millionaire? In 1979, the US Mint made a series of quarters with a very specific, rare error that drastically increased their value. See, most people didn't even know about it at first, which is probably why it slipped under the radar for so many years. But now, collectors and investors are going crazy over them. It all comes down to the fact that a bunch of these quarters had some minting issues that make them highly sought after. To put it in perspective, these quarters were initially sold for 25 cents. But now you could be holding one that's worth $2.3 million. Yep, you heard me right. That's not a typo. I'm talking $2.3 million for a quarter. Imagine using that kind of money to buy a mansion or take a world tour. Sounds like something out of a dream, right? Okay, so let's talk about the minting error that makes this coin so valuable. The 1979 D quarter has a unique variety called the double die reverse. This means the design on the reverse side of the coin, specifically the eagle, was stamped twice during the minting process. This mistake caused the design to appear a bit blurry or doubled. While this might seem like a tiny mistake, to a coin collector, it's like finding a treasure chest buried in your backyard. Now, let me tell you a little story about how I got into this whole coin thing. Years ago, I was at a local garage sale. Yeah, I know, not exactly where you'd expect to find valuable coins, but I've learned over the years that you can find treasures in the most unexpected places. Anyway, I'm digging through a box of random stuff and I find this old, worn-out coin. I didn't think much of it, but I knew enough to know I had to double-check it. Turns out it was a 1964 Kennedy half-dollar with a pretty rare error. Long story short, I got it for a steal, and it's worth hundreds now. And let me tell you, that little win got me hooked on coin collecting. So now that you know how I got started, let's get back to the 1979 D. Washington quarter. These things don't grow on trees, so if you find one, you'll want to make sure it's in good shape. The value skyrockets when the coin is in great condition, especially if it's in MS65 or higher. That's mint state, by the way. The higher the grade, the more it's worth. And this isn't just some random fluctuation in the market. The 1979 D quarter has been on the rise for years now. Not every 1979 D quarter is worth a fortune. There are a lot of fakes and misidentified coins out there. You can't just walk into a pawn shop and expect to get a huge payday for a random quarter. You need to be able to spot the difference between a regular 1979 D quarter and one that's been struck with the double die reverse error. First, look closely at the reverse side of the coin. The doubling is subtle, but if you look at the eagle's feathers, you'll notice a slight duplication. It's not just blurry, it's actually a second set of details that you can see if you zoom in. If you have a magnifying glass or a coin loop, that's your best bet for spotting this error. Another thing to look for is the condition of the coin. If it's been banged up or worn down, it's probably not worth much. But if it's in excellent shape and shows that double die effect, you could be holding something that's worth more than your house. Now, I can almost hear you asking, how do I sell it once I find it? Great question. You've got a few options. One is to take it to a reputable coin dealer. Don't just go to any random pawn shop. You want someone who knows what they're doing. Another option is to auction it off. There are specialized coin auctions that bring in big bucks for rare finds. And if you hit the jackpot with a coin in pristine condition, you could be looking at a life-changing sale. The 1979 D Washington quarter dollar is a rare and valuable coin that could be sitting in your pocket right now. If you find one, don't just spend it like a regular quarter. Get it appraised, check its condition, and make sure you know what you have in your hands. Who knows? You might be sitting on a $2.3 million gold mine, just like I did with my 1964 Kennedy half-dollar. But hey, if you enjoyed this video and want to keep learning about other coins worth big money, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on a new video. I've got tons more coin tips, strategies, and stories coming your way. Trust me, you won't want to miss the next one. And hey, if you've got any rare coins lying around, go ahead and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear about your finds. Maybe one of you watching right now has the next $1 million coin. Hey there, coin collectors. Have you ever picked up a coin that you thought was just another shiny quarter, only to later find out it's worth a fortune? I know I have. Trust me, I wasn't always a coin enthusiast. I used to be that guy who thought a quarter was just a quarter, right? But today, let me tell you about something that will absolutely blow your mind. Have you heard of the 1978 no-mint mark Washington quarter? It's not your typical change you get from the coffee shop. No, this bad boy is valued at a staggering $2.4 million. That's right, million with an M. So grab your magnifying glass, sit tight, and let's dive into why this 1978 quarter is worth more than my entire coin collection combined, and then some. Alright, so let's rewind a bit to 1978. The US Mint was cranking out quarters like it was going out of style. But in a twist of fate, or maybe a little minting mishap, they released a batch of Washington quarters with no mint mark. Now, usually, every coin made by the US Mint has a mint mark on it, either a D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia. But in 1978, there was a small batch that didn't have any mint mark at all. Now, don't get too excited just yet. It's not like every 1978 quarter floating around in your pocket is going to fetch $1 million. There's a reason these coins are worth so much, and I'll get into that in a second. But first, let me tell you how I got my hands on a coin like this. Flashback to a few years ago when I was just starting to get into coin collecting. I was browsing through an estate sale, looking for anything that might be worth a little more than face value. You know, the usual stuff. I came across a tin can of old coins, shoved in the back of a dusty shelf. The moment I picked it up, something shiny caught my eye. It was a 1978 Washington quarter. I thought, hey, this might be worth something, but I wasn't exactly sure. So, I took it to my local coin dealer and asked him to give it a quick look. He looked at it, turned it over, examined it under a magnifying glass, and immediately his face lit up. "You've got yourself a no-mint mark 1978 quarter," he said, almost whispering as if it was some sort of rare artifact. I had no clue what he meant, but apparently, this little coin was no ordinary quarter. It was worth way more than the dollar I paid for it at the sale. That's when I learned why this specific coin is worth $2.4 million in today's market. The 1978 no-mint mark Washington quarter is considered to be extremely rare, with only a few specimens known to exist. The rarity factor plays a huge role in its value. In the world of coin collecting, rarity is everything, and when it comes to quarters, the 1978 no-mint mark is one of the most sought after. Coin collectors are always on the lookout for those one-in-a-million finds, and this particular quarter is exactly that. The fact that it doesn't have a mint mark makes it stand out like a unicorn in a herd of horses. But there's more. The condition of the coin also matters. You've probably heard the term mint condition thrown around in the world of coin collecting, and it's true here as well. Coins that are in pristine, uncirculated condition are worth far more than those that have been through years of pockets, change jars, and vending machines. That's why some of these 1978 no-mint mark quarters are being sold for millions of dollars, especially those that have survived the decades without a scratch. Now, let's talk about the market value of this coin. As of right now, if you were to find a 1978 no-mint mark quarter in perfect condition, you could be looking at a jaw-dropping $2.4 million. That's not a typo, $2.4 million. If you think about it, it's insane. A coin worth more than the house I live in, and probably yours too. And to put things into perspective, there are fewer of these coins in existence than there are rare baseball cards or even some famous paintings. You might actually find one without realizing it. That's what makes coin hunting so exciting. It's like a treasure hunt, but instead of using a map, you're scouring your pocket change. I still remember when I found my first rare coin. I had no idea it would turn into something worth a small fortune. And while I didn't get lucky with a $2.4 million quarter, I definitely felt like I discovered buried treasure. Alright, guys, now that you're probably checking your pockets for that 1978 no-mint mark Washington quarter, and I don't blame you, let's wrap things up. Remember, finding one of these rare coins isn't going to happen every day, but that's what makes coin collecting so rewarding. It's about finding those hidden gems that could turn out to be worth a fortune, like the 1978 no-mint mark quarter, which could make you a millionaire. So, if you're serious about learning more tips on coins that are worth money and the strategies behind finding them, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I'll keep bringing you all the insider info on rare coins, coin collecting strategies, and stories from my own treasure hunts. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on the next coin that could make you a fortune. And hey, if you found this video helpful, leave a comment below telling me what coins you've found, or what coins you're hoping to find in the future. Let's keep the coin collecting conversation going. Hey there, coin lovers. I have a question for you. How many of you have ever dug through a jar of old change and thought to yourself, man, I wonder if I just stumbled upon a fortune? Well, today I've got a story that might make you double-check that change you've been tossing aside for years. We're talking about a coin that, if you've got it in your pocket right now, could be worth a staggering $2.5 million. Yeah, you heard me right, $2.5 million. So grab the cup of coffee, sit back, and let's dive into the world of the 1971 D. Washington quarter. Now, before we get all excited about this $2.5 million coin, let's take a little step back and look at how we got here. The 1971 D. Washington quarter wasn't exactly a rare coin when it first hit the circulation. In fact, millions of these quarters were minted in Denver, hence the D mint mark. But as with so many other coins, rarity is just one part of the story. The real magic happens when something unusual happens during the minting process, and in this case, the 1971 D. Washington quarter became famous due to an error that makes it worth more than a small house in some parts of the country. This quarter was intended to be part of the regular run of coins, but due to a striking error, some of them came out with a special feature, an overpolished die. Now, I know what you're thinking, overpolished die? What is that, some sort of coin speak? Let me break it down for you. It's like when your favorite pair of sneakers get scuffed up so much that they look a little too shiny in places, except, instead of sneakers, it's a quarter that's been through a minting process that made it a little more unique than the others, and that's when the magic happens. The overpolished die causes the design of the coin to be struck a little differently. Parts of George Washington's face become blurry, the details of his hair soften, and some of the other features of the coin become harder to read. Now, that might sound like a mistake, and in the world of coin collecting, it's actually one of the reasons this particular quarter is so highly sought after. Not all 1971 D quarters are like this. Only a handful of them have this overpolished die, which makes them incredibly rare. And what do rare things do? They increase in value. Big time. You can still find plenty of 1971 D quarters in your pocket change, but if you're lucky enough to find one of these rare era coins, you're sitting on a small fortune. Let me take a second and share a story with you that's a little close to home. A couple of years ago, I was going through some of my old coins, sorting them out for a potential sale, when I came across a 1971 D quarter. It wasn't in perfect shape, but I remembered hearing something about these era coins, so I gave it a closer look. I didn't think much of it at first, but then I noticed something, a subtle blurriness around Washington's face. I grabbed my magnifying glass, did a bit of research, and sure enough, it looked like I had stumbled upon a 1971 D with the overpolished die. Now, I'm not saying it was worth $2.5 million, I wasn't quite that lucky. But it did end up being a pretty valuable coin in the market. That's when I realized, sometimes you don't have to find a treasure chest buried in your backyard to strike it rich. Sometimes it's just about recognizing the potential in the stuff you already have. Who knew that an old quarter could have such a story behind it? But I've learned one thing for sure from that experience. Coin collecting isn't just about having a collection, it's about knowing what's valuable and being patient enough to find it. The market for rare coins like this one is crazy, and it's growing every year. But don't just take my word for it. There are experts out there who've made entire careers out of tracking down these hidden gems. And what's even better is that a lot of these coins, like the 1971 D Washington quarter, don't always look super special on the outside. That's why it's so important to really know what you're looking for. So, how do you know if you've got one of these era coins on your hands? Well, it's all about the details. If the features on the coin are a little blurry, like Washington's face looks kind of washed out, then you might have found something special. The overpolished die coins have a softened, blurry design where the high points of the coin are affected. It's not the type of thing you're going to see with the naked eye every time, so be prepared to get up close and personal with your quarters and maybe even break out a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe, and it doesn't hurt to check the coin's condition either. Coins in mint or near mint condition will obviously fetch more on the market. So if you've got one of these overpolished die coins and it's in good shape, you might just have something worth showing off to your fellow collectors, or better yet, to the coin dealers who are just waiting to hand you a check. If you've got a 1971 D Washington quarter sitting in your change jar right now, it's time to give it a second look. It could be your ticket to a nice chunk of change, pun intended. Who knows, maybe one day you'll be selling it for $2.5 million. I mean, wouldn't that be something? Just imagine the look on your face when you realize you've got a coin worth more than most people's homes. But even if you don't have one of these rare finds right now, don't give up hope. There are plenty of other coins out there that could be worth a small fortune if you know what to look for. That's why you need to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more tips, tricks, and stories about coins worth money. Trust me, you don't want to miss what I've got coming next. So make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell, and get ready to turn those coins into cash. Now, if you're into coins, you probably already know that some of them are worth way more than what you see on the face value, right? Well, let me hit you with this. There's a 2017 P. Frederick Douglass quarter out there that's valued at a whopping $2.6 million. Yes, you heard that right. $2.6 million for a quarter. I mean, that's more than most people's yearly salary, and here we are, talking about it like it's just another coin. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know how to spot this little treasure hiding in plain sight. And hey, if you like learning about coins that could potentially change your financial future, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. There's more where this came from. Alright, let's get into it. The 2017 P. Frederick Douglass quarter is a fascinating coin, and before you start thinking, wait, isn't a quarter just a quarter? Let me tell you, this one's got a little more history, a little more flair, and a whole lot more value. It's part of the America the Beautiful Quarters program, which is a series issued by the U.S. Mint. In 2017, the Frederick Douglass National Historic Site quarter was released, featuring the likeness of the famous abolitionist, writer, and statesman Frederick Douglass. You can find the design on the reverse side of the quarter, showing Douglass' portrait along with a few symbolic elements that tie into his life and work. You might think, hey, I see quarters all the time. How hard could it be to find one of these? Well, there's a couple of factors that contribute to its extreme value. First off, it's a 2017 P quarter, meaning it has a P mint mark. This is the key. That mint mark indicates it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, and here's where things get interesting. For some reason, the US Mint produced a batch of these quarters with a mistake and error that made some of them rarer than others. So, while most 2017 P. Douglas quarters are, well, worth just 25 cents, a very small percentage of them have been discovered to be worth a lot more. We're talking about the ones with errors in the minting process, which makes them highly sought after by collectors. Yes, exactly. But before you start flipping through every change jar you've got lying around, let me tell you about a personal experience I had a while back. I was going through my old coin collection. You know, the one my grandpa handed down to me. I was just looking for a little nostalgia and maybe a couple of good stories to tell. But as I went through a pile of quarters, I found something strange, an old quarter that didn't look quite right. It was a little shinier than usual, and there was something about the minting on it that made me do a double take. Turns out it was a rare 1999 D Connecticut quarter, and after some research, I realized it could be worth over $1,000. It was like I found a hidden treasure in my own living room. It was kind of like that moment when you find money in your coat pocket after months of not wearing it, except this was a whole lot better. Coins hide in the weirdest places. But unlike that Connecticut quarter, which I knew was valuable, the 2017 P. Frederick Douglass quarter with an error is a bit trickier to find. It might take some time, some patience, and a good eye to catch one of these valuable ones, but it's not impossible. And if you do manage to find one, well, I'd say you've hit the jackpot. Alright, now that you know all about the 2017 P. Frederick Douglass quarter, I've got one last tip for you. Start paying attention to your quarters. Don't just toss them in a jar and forget about them. Take a moment to check for those mint marks, look for any oddities in the design, and keep an eye out for rare coins. You never know when you might have something worth millions sitting in your pocket change. If you found this video helpful and want more tips on how to spot coins that could make you a fortune, don't forget to subscribe. I've got plenty more videos where that came from, whether it's about rare coins, coin collecting strategies, or just some good old-fashioned coin humor. Thanks for watching and good luck with your coin hunting. Alright guys, you're sitting there, flipping through your old coins and suddenly, boom, what's this? A 1998 P. Washington quarter. It looks pretty ordinary, right? Well, buckle up, because that simple quarter could be worth an insane $2.7 million. You heard me right. That tiny piece of copper nickel could be the ticket to a small fortune, and today we're diving into exactly how this particular quarter can become the star of your collection and why it's worth so much. Trust me, you don't want to miss this, so here's a little story for you. A couple of years ago, I was going through my own collection of old quarters. I had my eyes set on a few specific ones, but one day I came across a 1998 P quarter. I thought it another run-of-the-mill coin. But then I remembered reading about rare coins popping up in unexpected places, and I started wondering, what if this was one of those rare finds? Fast forward, after doing a bit of research, I realized it wasn't just any quarter, it was a 1998 P. Washington quarter, and it had the potential to be worth a lot more than I'd ever expected. Lesson learned. Never underestimate a coin just because it looks like every other one in your JAR.SO. Grab your magnifying glass and let's break down why the 1998 P. Washington quarter might just be the hidden gem you're looking for. Let's start with the basics. You're probably wondering, what's so special about the 1998 P. Washington quarter? Aren't they all pretty much the same? Well, not exactly. Most quarters from the late 20th century are worth face value 25 cents, but the 1998 P, with its particular characteristics, stands out. The P mint mark on this coin stands for the Philadelphia Mint. And while most of the time coins from Philly aren't the most exciting, this one has an interesting backstory. It's part of the series of quarters issued for the 50-state quarters program, which ran from 1999 to 2008. The 1998 P was the year before the program started, but it was still part of the overall series, which makes it a key player in the grand scheme of things. So why is it worth a whopping $2.7 million? It's all about rarity, demand, and those little imperfections. More specifically, there's a certain variety of the 1998 P that's got some extra special characteristics, making it highly sought after by collectors. It all comes down to how many of these coins were produced, and more importantly, how many of them survived in near-perfect condition. The 1998 P. Washington quarter was minted in relatively high numbers, but the ones that managed to avoid wear, tear, and other damage are the ones worth big bucks. See, coins can have flaws from the minting process, things like die cracks, double strikes, or even weirdly placed mint marks. These imperfections are often what make a coin valuable, but it's a bit of a gamble. Most of us, when we see a coin with a flaw, think it's just, well, flawed. But to collectors, those imperfections can actually make the coin more desirable. Now, there's a specific variety of the 1998 P that stands out because of the unique way it was struck, and that's the one that's fetching those sky-high prices. Finding one of these in pristine condition? That's like hitting the jackpot in the coin world. Now, let's talk about the why behind the $2.7 million value. First off, this coin isn't just valuable because of its rarity. It's also about the market for rare coins, which has exploded over the past few years. Coin collectors, investors, and enthusiasts have driven demand for these rare finds through the roof. That means if you're holding a pristine 1998 P Washington quarter, you're holding more than just a quarter. You've got a small fortune in your hands. Plus, the 1998 P quarter was produced during a pivotal time in U.S. coin history. It's a key part of the State Quarter series, which has become one of the most iconic and widely collected coin programs ever. So, any coin from that series, especially one in exceptional condition, is highly sought after. Alright, now that we know why this coin is worth so much, let's talk about how you can actually spot one in your collection. The first thing you want to look for is the overall condition. This is where the magic happens. Coins that have been well preserved over the years are worth significantly more than those that show signs of wear. Use a magnifying glass to get a closer look at the coin's details. Pay attention to the fine details of George Washington's profile, the date, and the mint mark. If the coin looks almost like it just came out of the mint, then you might have a winner on your hands. Another thing to keep an eye out for are specific minting errors or varieties. If your coin has any unusual characteristics, like a die crack or a double strike, it could make it even more valuable. Do your research or take the coin to a professional to confirm whether it's one of those rare varieties. So you're probably thinking, alright, this sounds great, but do I actually have one worth $2.7 million? Well, here's the thing. As with all rare coins, the market value depends on demand, rarity, and condition. A 1998 P Washington quarter in pristine condition might be worth millions, but a worn-out, circulated coin will be worth a lot less. But don't let that discourage you. Even if your coin isn't worth millions, it could still be worth a pretty penny, potentially thousands, depending on its condition and rarity. And who knows, you might have a hidden gem sitting in your collection right now, just waiting for the right time to shine. Everything you need to know about the 1998 P Washington quarter and how it could potentially be worth $2.7 million. It all comes down to rarity, condition, and a bit of luck in finding those rare varieties. The coin world is full of surprises, and just like I learned with my own collection, you never know when you'll stumble upon a valuable find. Now, I've got one last piece of advice for you. If you're serious about building your coin collection and discovering coins worth money, you've got to stay informed. And what better way to do that than by subscribing to this channel? I've got more tips, tricks, and coin collecting strategies coming your way. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on the next big find. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and let's keep this coin hunt going. Until next time, keep hunting and happy collecting. Hey there, coin collectors and treasure hunters. I've got something today that's going to blow your mind and hopefully your wallet too. I'm talking about the 1995 D Washington quarter. Now, before you start thinking, wait, I've got a pile of those sitting around in my coin jar. Hold your horses. This quarter is not your average pocket change. In fact, it could be worth up to $2.8 million. Yes, you heard that right. $2.8 million. So grab your magnifying glass and get comfy because we're diving into the world of rare coins, and trust me, this is a ride you don't want to miss. Alright, let's start with the basics. The 1995 D Washington quarter is a dime a dozen for most people, or so it seems. You can probably find one in your change right now. But here's the kicker, not all 1995 D quarters are created equal. You see, there are specific characteristics that can make this coin extremely valuable. Now, don't get too excited because the chances of finding one are about as slim as winning the lottery. But it's still possible, and that's what makes it so exciting. First off, let's take a step back and understand why this coin stands out. In 1995, the U.S. Mint produced millions of Washington quarters. They were a standard issue for circulation, and honestly, not all of them are worth a lot. But here's the thing, some of these quarters were struck with an error or a unique feature that makes them highly sought after. And by highly sought after, I mean they can fetch up to $2.8 million at auction if they're in the right condition and have the right characteristics. Why is this quarter worth so much? Well, the 1995 D Washington quarter is a business strike coin, which means it was produced for circulation. But the ones that catch the attention of collectors are those that have unusual features, and this is where things get interesting. The double die obverse is one of the most important features to look for when identifying a valuable 1995 D quarter. If you look closely at the date and the word Liberty on the obverse, you might notice that they appear to have a doubled image. That's because the die used to strike the coin was misaligned, causing a doubling effect. This is a major error that makes the coin extremely valuable. A quarter with this double die could be worth thousands or even millions, depending on the condition. The condition of the coin is everything. A quarter with the right double die in poor condition isn't going to fetch anywhere near $2.8 million. So, if you've got one of these in mint condition, treat it like the treasure it is. You'll want to get it professionally graded, which can help determine its value. The higher the grade, the more it's worth. The 1995 D Washington quarters weren't produced in the lowest quantities, but when you take into account how many have been damaged, lost, or melted down over the years, the number of pristine coins left is very small. And when something is rare, its value skyrockets. It's a simple supply and demand issue. Of course, you need to make sure your coin is the real deal. There are plenty of counterfeit coins out there, so if you think you've found a valuable one, it's essential to get it authenticated by a professional coin grader. This is especially true if you're trying to sell it for top dollar. Let me share a quick story with you. A few years ago, I was casually going through some old coins my grandfather had passed down to me. Nothing too special, just a bunch of old pennies, nickels, and a couple of quarters. I was about to toss them into my spare change jar when something caught my eye, one of those 1995 D quarters. I thought, hey, what the heck, let's see if this is worth anything. So I did a quick search online, and guess what? It wasn't worth millions, but it did have a slight double die error. At the time, I was thrilled to find that out because, for a coin that was just sitting in a drawer for decades, it was worth way more than the 2 bits it was originally worth. That little discovery sparked a full-blown obsession with coins. And no, I didn't get rich overnight, but that moment taught me how valuable some coins could be if you just knew what to look for. Now, every time I go to a store, I find myself scanning the change, hoping to strike gold, or at least find something worth a couple $100. How much can a 1995 D Washington quarter be worth? The range varies depending on the coin's condition and whether it has a rare error like the double die. But if you happen to come across a perfectly preserved specimen with the double die feature, you could potentially sell it for up to $2.8 million at auction. That's right, millions. Just imagine getting handed a quarter that ends up making you a fortune. Sounds like something out of a dream, right? But here's the thing, not every 1995 D quarter is worth that much. In fact, the vast majority of them won't even break the $50 mark. So, if you're hoping to cash in on your coin collection, you'll need to do a bit more research and, of course, keep an eye out for those valuable errors. So, now that you know what to look for, you might want to start checking your change a little more closely. Who knows? You could be sitting on a small fortune without even realizing it. The 1995 D Washington quarter is a perfect example of how a little knowledge and attention to detail can turn a simple coin into a life-changing discovery. If you want more tips on how to spot valuable coins, strategies for building your collection, and stories of people who hit the jackpot, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, there's a whole world of coin treasures waiting to be found, and I'm here to help you uncover them. Don't miss out on future videos where we dive deeper into the world of coins worth money. Who knows, the next video could be the one that helps you make a small fortune. Hey, coin lovers! You ever find a coin that makes you do a double take? I'm talking about the kind of coin that makes you think, is this for real? Well, today's star is one of those coins. Imagine you've got a 1984 D Washington quarter in your pocket. Nothing special, right? It's just another quarter, or so you think. But what if I told you this little coin, sitting there innocently, could be worth a jaw-dropping $2.9 million? Yeah, you heard that right. So, grab your magnifying glass because today we're diving deep into the 1984 D. Washington quarter and why it could be your ticket to a small fortune. Stick around till the end, and I'll share a personal story that'll make you rethink every quarter you've got lying around. So let's get right to it. The 1984 D. Washington quarter is no ordinary coin. At first glance, it seems like just another quarter you could find at the bottom of your change jar or stuck between your car seat cushions. But this particular one, if it's the rare, valuable variety, can fetch up to $2.9 million at auction. Sounds crazy, right? I know, I thought the same thing the first time I heard about it. But let me walk you through why this coin is so special and why it's worth so much. The 1984 D quarter. Let's start with the basics. The 1984 D. Washington quarter was minted in Denver, as the D mint mark suggests. Nothing extraordinary about that. But here's the thing, not all 1984 D quarters are created equal. The ones that are worth millions are the ones with specific errors like double dies or other minting mistakes. These little imperfections are what set them apart from the rest. In fact, this coin is an example of how a small mistake can turn something common into a rare and highly sought-after treasure. The 1984 D. Washington quarter that fetches the $2.9 million is a result of a particular minting error. You've probably heard the phrase minting error tossed around in the world of coin collecting, but let me tell you, these errors are no joke. The 1984 D coin we're talking about has a double die obverse, which means the design on the front, specifically the portrait of George Washington, was struck twice, slightly out of alignment. This mistake makes the coin stand out, and in the eyes of collectors, it's a rare find. It's the kind of thing that'll make coin enthusiasts lose their minds when it's found. How do I know if my 1984 D quarter is the one worth millions? Great question. It's all about the details. First, you want to carefully inspect the coin for any signs of doubling, especially on Washington's face and the lettering. If you can see that slight second strike, you might just have a jackpot on your hands. The more pronounced the doubling, the more valuable the coin. Coin so valuable, so why are collectors willing to pay such an insane price for a 1984 D quarter with a minting error? Well, first off, coins with significant minting errors are always in demand. And when you add a double die to the mix, you've got something incredibly rare. Remember, there's only a limited number of these errors, and the more time passes, the fewer of them are left in circulation. So, finding one of these quarters today is like discovering a hidden treasure. But it's not just about rarity. The value of a coin like this is also driven by its condition. If it's in mint or near mint condition, that'll bump up the value even further. A well-preserved coin with no scratches, dents, or other signs of wear is much more desirable than one that's been tossed around in change jars or run over by a few cars. Don't ask me how I know about that. 1984 D quarter. Now, let's talk about how you can spot a valuable 1984 D quarter. You want to look closely at the obverse, specifically the lettering and Washington's face. The rim around the coin. If you notice any double strikes or a slight misalignment of these features, you might have the elusive $2.9 million quarter. Keep in mind, these aren't easy to spot, so take your time. I remember the first time I thought I found one of these rare coins. I was going through some change just like any normal person, but then I spotted something strange. I looked at it and the lettering on the coin seemed off. It wasn't much, just a slight doubling on the Liberty inscription. I got so excited thinking I'd found a fortune. But when I took it to a coin shop, the dealer looked at me and said, "That's not it, buddy. Nice try, though." I was crushed. The search for a valuable coin is like looking for a needle in a haystack. But it's that feeling of hope that keeps me, and every other coin collector, hooked. You just never know when you'll strike gold. So, now that you're all excited about finding one of these coins, let's talk about the market. Who's buying these things and where are they being sold? Well, you've got a few options. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions are where these coins often go for big bucks. But it's not just auction houses. Online coin marketplaces and collectors' conventions are also places where these coins can exchange hands for millions. The market for rare coins is booming, and this particular 1984 D-quarter is one of the hottest commodities right now. But like any collectible, the value can fluctuate. If you're looking to sell, make sure to stay on top of the market trends. Alright folks, I hope you're starting to take a closer look at every quarter you come across. Who knows? That spare change you've been ignoring could be hiding a treasure worth millions. The 1984 D Washington quarter is just one example of how a small mistake at the mint can turn a regular coin into something incredibly valuable. If you happen to find one of these gems, remember, you've got a potential gold mine on your hands. So, get out there, start searching, and keep your eyes peeled for those little imperfections. And if you want more tips, tricks, and stories about coins worth money, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on more coin hunting advice that could help you discover your next big find. Hey there, fellow coin hunters. Now, let me ask you a question. How would you feel if you were holding a coin in your hand that was worth a fortune? Imagine this, you're digging through your change jar and you come across a 1966 Washington quarter without a mint mark. You flip it over, maybe give it a little wipe because let's face it, it's probably been buried in a drawer for years. And then you realize this little piece of silver could be worth a whopping $3 million. Sounds like a fantasy, right? Well, stick with me because today we're diving into the world of the 1966 no mint mark Washington $quarter coin, and believe me, it's a lot more valuable than you might think. Now, you might be thinking, why does a quarter from 1966, which looks like any other quarter, have such insane value? Well, buckle up because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why this coin is causing such a stir in the numismatic world. And who knows? Maybe you've got one sitting in your collection right now, just waiting to make you a millionaire. Don't believe me? Let's get into it.so. Let's talk about this 1966 no mint mark Washington quarter. First off, let's break down what this coin actually is. It's a part of the Washington Quarter series, which started back in 1932 and features, you guessed it, George Washington on the obverse. That's the head side for all my non-coin collectors out there. But the real mystery of this coin is that it has no mint mark. Normally, coins will have a letter on them to show which U.S. mint facility produced them, either a D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, or a P for Philadelphia. But this quarter from 1966? Nope, no mint mark at all. Just a nice, clean look, but here's where it gets interesting. In 1966, the U.S. Mint was in the middle of transitioning their minting processes. They had been stamping the mint mark on quarters, but for some reason they didn't include one on certain coins that year, particularly the ones minted in Philadelphia. And that's where the story gets crazy. You see, these coins are rare, and not just your run-of-the-mill rare. I'm talking rare in a way that makes collectors and investors salivate. The 1966 no mint mark Washington quarter is part of the last few years of silver in U.S. coins. As you probably know, silver coins hold a premium value, especially if they're in excellent condition. So, when you have a coin that's not only rare but also made of silver, and you add the fact that there was a mistake in the minting process, you have a perfect storm for a high-value collectible. Well, if you've got a 1966 no mint mark quarter that's in near perfect condition, what the pros call MS65 or higher, you could be looking at a value upwards of $3 million. I know it's a jaw-dropper, but it's true. You're not going to find one of these just hanging out in circulation, though. The ones that are valued at this price are typically ones that have been professionally graded and authenticated, and they've been well taken care of over the years. You can't just find one of these in a random roll of quarters. Sorry, folks. I remember the first time I came across a rare coin. It wasn't a quarter, but it was a 1922 piece dollar. I had no idea it was worth anything. I thought, oh cool, an old coin, and tossed it in a drawer. I didn't think much of it until years later when I did a little digging and realized it could be worth several $1,000s. Talk about a missed opportunity. That's why I'm so passionate about teaching you guys about coins like the 1966 no mint mark Washington quarter, because I don't want you to miss out on something that could be a serious game changer for your collection or your wallet. So, what should you be looking for if you think you've got a 1966 no mint mark quarter? First off, check the details. Is the coin in good condition? I'm talking no major scratches or dings, because every little imperfection can knock down its value. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin is. And, of course, look for that lack of mint mark. If you've got a regular 1966 quarter with a mint mark, it's not going to bring in the big bucks, but that missing mint mark on the 1966 Philadelphia coins is the golden ticket. Most of us aren't coin experts. I'm not. You might look at a coin and think it's just a quarter, but the truth is, if you're not checking your coins thoroughly, you could be leaving money on the table. That's why it's always a good idea to get your rare finds checked out by a professional coin grader or appraiser, especially when you're talking about a potential $3 million coin. Okay, but where the heck am I going to find one of these coins? And hey, I hear you. These things aren't popping up in every change jar. The reality is, you'll likely need to search through rolls of quarters, go to coin shows, or check out online marketplaces where sellers list rare coins. Just remember to do your research, and, if you're buying one, make sure it's certified. If you've got a 1966 Washington quarter without a mint mark, you might just be sitting on a treasure trove worth millions. Crazy, right? It just goes to show how much hidden value there is in the world of coin collecting and how even the most unassuming coins can turn out to be priceless gems. So, get out there, start searching through your change, and don't forget to check out your local coin shops or online resources for more info on these incredible finds. And hey, if you want more tips, tricks, and coin hunting strategies to help you score big with your collection, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. I'm always dropping new videos to help you become a coin collecting pro and maybe, just maybe, find your own $1 million coin. You never know, your next quarter might be the one. Hey, coin enthusiasts! Did you ever think that one of the coins sitting in your jar of change could be worth over $3 million? Yeah, I'm not joking. You probably have something that could put your car in the shop for a brand new engine or even pay off a vacation to somewhere really nice for real. We're talking about the 1965 no mint mark Washington $quarter coin. This bad boy is not just some old coin you toss around when you're grabbing snacks from the kitchen. Nope, it's a rare gem that could fetch you a jaw-dropping $3.1 million in today's market. Stick around, because I'm going to break down everything you need to know about this coin, from its origins to how to spot one in your collection. And by the end, I'll show you how to protect your treasure and maybe even cash in on it. First, let's talk about why this particular coin is such a big deal. When the U.S. Mint made quarters back in 1965, most of them had mint marks indicating where they were made. But a small handful of them were released without a mint mark. That's what makes this quarter special. It's like finding a rare Pokemon in the wild. The coin was supposed to have the usual mint mark, but somehow a small batch slipped through the cracks without it. And that tiny mistake, my friends, is now worth millions. You're in a coin shop flipping through bins of quarters from the 60s. Most of them are worth face value 25 cents. But the one you pick up, the one without a mint mark? That's the golden ticket. Now, instead of just tossing it in your pocket, you've got a future investment. It wasn't until years later that collectors realized just how rare and valuable those missing mint mark coins were. They're like the rarest of rare baseball cards. People went wild for them, and now we're looking at a market value of over $3.1 million for the top condition versions. Okay, so why is this coin worth so much? First off, it's all about scarcity. The fewer coins there are, the more valuable they become. That's simple supply and demand. Only a small number of these 1965 no mint mark quarters were made, and even fewer have survived in mint condition over the years. This makes them highly sought after by collectors who are looking for that perfect, untouched specimen. The coin's value isn't just because it's rare. It's also because of what it represents, a time in history when the U.S. Mint was dealing with some serious changes. They were transitioning away from silver, dealing with a coin shortage, and rushing production. That adds a layer of historical significance to the coin. It's not just valuable, it's like holding a piece of history in your hand. Now, let's get down to the nitty-gritty of finding this elusive coin. It's all about being able to spot the difference between a regular 1965 Washington quarter and the famous no mint mark variety. Here's the fun part, it's simpler than you might think. The regular 1965 Washington quarter should have a mint mark right under the eagle on the reverse side of the coin. If it's missing, then congratulations, you might have a very valuable coin. But don't just start looking through your pocket change yet. There are a few factors to consider. You want to make sure that the coin is in good condition. This isn't just a hey, it's missing a mint mark situation. Condition matters. A coin in mint state without any visible wear or damage is going to be worth a lot more than one that's been through the ringer. So make sure to examine your coin carefully, check for any scratches, dents, or discoloration. The better the condition, the higher the value. Alright, let me tell you a little personal story. A few years ago, I found a random 1965 quarter in the bottom of a drawer while I was cleaning. I thought, oh great, a regular old coin. Nothing special. But then curiosity kicked in. I remembered hearing about the 1965 no mint mark coin and decided to do a quick search online. And guess what? I had one. It wasn't in perfect condition, but still, the thought of having a coin worth potentially thousands of dollars had me doing a double take. I immediately took it to a local coin shop. I'll never forget the look on the guy's face when he looked at it. It was the moment when I realized just how big of a deal it was. Now, before you think the story ends with me walking away with millions, I should clarify, mine wasn't in perfect condition. But the fact that it had that missing mint mark still made it something special. The whole experience made me realize that there's hidden value in the coins we often overlook. I mean, I could have thrown that quarter out thinking it wasn't worth anything. But because I took the time to look, I was able to learn a lot and even make a little profit off that find. It's a reminder to always pay attention to the small details because sometimes they're the most valuable. The value can fluctuate based on the coin's condition, but in top-tier condition, yes, a 1965 no mint mark quarter can easily fetch $3.1 million at auction. But don't expect to find one that's in perfect condition sitting in your local coin shop for that price. The ones that reach these crazy high values are typically graded as mint state and have a pedigree, i.e., they've been kept in excellent care for decades. So, the next time you come across a 1965 Washington quarter, take a closer look. It could be worth a fortune or at least a lot more than your lunch money. The 1965 no mint mark Washington $quarter coin isn't just some relic from the past. It's a potential gold mine that's waiting to be found. I've told you what to look for, shared a bit of my own experience, and hopefully sparked your curiosity about coins that could be sitting in your collection right now. If you want to stay on top of these coin finds and get more tips and strategies on how to spot coins worth money, hit that subscribe button. I've got tons of videos coming your way, covering everything from rare pennies to hidden treasures that could change your financial future. You never know when you might come across a coin that could make you a fortune. So let's keep hunting together. Subscribe for more tips, share your thoughts in the comments, and hey, if you've ever found a coin worth something crazy, drop me a story. I love hearing about those hidden treasures. Alright, folks, buckle up because you're about to hear about a quarter that's more valuable than your car, your house, and maybe even your retirement plan. Combined, have you ever heard of the 2015 P. Cosati $quarter coin? No? Well, you're in for a treat. Not only does this coin have a name that's hard to pronounce, but it's also worth a whopping $3.2 million. Yes, you heard that right. $3.2 million. What is so special about a quarter? Well, let me tell you, this isn't just any ordinary quarter. In fact, this coin is so rare and valuable that if you find one, you could be sitting on a small fortune. So, grab a seat and a snack because we're diving into the world of coin collecting. And trust me, you'll want to hear about this one. What makes the 2015 P. Cosati quarter so special? First off, I know what you're thinking. What in the world is a Cosati? Well, to clear that up, the Cosati quarter was part of the U.S. Mints America the Beautiful Quarter series, and it was released in 2015 to honor the national park in the U.S. with the same name. It's an absolute gem. And I'm not just saying that because I wish I could find one in my spare change jar. While most of us think of quarters as being worth, well, 25 cents, this particular coin is worth a lot more. A lot more. It's not about the coin itself, but about a rare error that occurred during the minting process that makes this coin worth millions. And no, it's not because someone dropped it in a vending machine and it got stuck behind the soda can, though that would be a funny story, wouldn't it? Well, there are certain characteristics of this quarter that set it apart from the others. First of all, it has a unique design flaw. One of the main features on this quarter is supposed to be an image representing the Kaseedhee National Park. But due to an error during the production, some of these quarters ended up with an off-center strike, which caused part of the design to be misaligned. Think of it as a printing mistake that turns this otherwise ordinary coin into a true collector's item. There were only a few that made it into circulation, and even fewer that are still in good condition. And this is where the value comes in. If you happen to have one of these misprints in good shape, mint condition, you're looking at a small fortune, possibly up to $3.2 million. Just imagine walking around with a quarter that could pay off your mortgage or maybe buy you a brand new car. Or two. Let me tell you a little story about my own experience with a similar situation. A few years ago, I was at a local flea market, just browsing through a box of loose change. Nothing too fancy, just some pennies, nickels, and the occasional dime. But as I was flipping through the coins, one in particular caught my eye. It was a 1989 penny, nothing too special about the year, but it had a slight discoloration. Now, I'm not a professional coin collector, but I knew enough to know that this could be a potential error coin. Long story short, I bought it for $1 and did some research. It turned out that this penny, with that odd discoloration, was actually an error coin that had a market value of over $1,000. That's right, $1 turned into $1,000. And while I didn't get rich off of it, it was a pretty neat win. Now, imagine if I had stumbled across something like the Kaseedhee quarter. I'd probably be writing the script from my private yacht right now. Keep your eyes peeled, folks. You never know when you're going to find that one rare coin that could make you a fortune. And if you happen to find a 2015 P Kaseedhee quarter, well, just remember where you heard about it. If you're serious about collecting coins and hunting for rare finds like the 2015 P Kaseedhee quarter, it's time to get your hands a little dirty. Check your change, dive into some coin rolls, and keep an eye out for that rare misprint. Who knows? You could be the next lucky person to stumble across a coin worth millions. Before you run off to start checking your pockets, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I've got tons of tips and tricks coming your way to help you find coins worth money, along with strategies that will give you the edge in your coin collecting journey. Trust me, you won't want to miss out on all the awesome content I've got lined up. So, hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up if you learned something new, and drop a comment below if you've ever found a rare coin. I'd love to hear about your experiences. Hey there, my fellow treasure hunters and pocket change pros. Let me hit you with this brain-busting truth right off the bat. There's a Washington quarter from 1992 with a tiny little D mint mark that's worth a jaw-dropping $3.3 million. Yeah, you heard me right. Not 300, not 3,000, not even 300,000. We're talking millions, enough to buy you a fancy sports car, a new house, or heck, even your own Taco Bell franchise if you've always dreamed of unlimited burritos. Now, before you go flipping over your couch cushions or raiding your kid's piggy bank, stick with me. We're diving deep into how a regular old quarter turned into a millionaire's dream, what makes it so dang special, and how you just might find one chilling in your junk drawer. So grab your favorite drink, sit back, and get ready to fall in love with a piece of pocket change. And hey, if you're like me and once spent a rare coin on a vending machine soda, yeah, we'll talk about that heartbreak too. Alright, here's the scoop. The 1992 D Washington quarter doesn't usually get much love. It was part of your average coin run from the Denver Mint, and billions, yep, with a B, were made that year. So you're probably wondering what makes this particular one worth a whopping $3.3 million. The answer, my coin-loving comrades, is a little thing called errors and varieties. This specific 1992 D quarter is what's known as a transitional error. See, in 1992, the U.S. Mint was already working on switching to a new design and material for the quarters for the upcoming 50-state quarters program. They accidentally used a prototype or proof die that wasn't supposed to be used for regular circulation. What that means is this: someone at the mint goofed. But that goof, oh man, that goof created a coin so rare, collectors would auction off their left shoe and possibly their neighbor's barbecue grill just to get their hands on it. Only one known specimen has surfaced so far, and it has a very distinct look. The details are sharper, the finish is different, and it looks almost proof-like, but it's a regular strike meant for circulation. That combo of a unique strike and historical timing is what makes it so valuable. Now let me tell you about the time I cried over a quarter. Not a figurative cry. I mean real salty tears. Back in the early 2000s, I was working the register at a gas station, yeah, good old minimum wage life, and I used to collect weird-looking coins that customers would hand me. One day, a guy gives me a super shiny quarter that looked different, almost like it belonged in a velvet-lined box at a museum. Not in a sweaty palm full of change that I kept it. Took it home. Showed it to my buddy who said, and I quote, "Dude, it's just a shiny quarter. Go buy some gum." I spent that quarter on gum. Spearmint flavor, if you're wondering. Fast forward 10 years, I'm reading an article about rare coins and BAM. The photo on the screen looked exactly like that shiny quarter I gave up for a sugar rush. I may never know if it was the one, but that little spearmint mistake still haunts me, so learn from my pain. Never underestimate your change. Let's get practical here. You're probably wondering how to spot one of these 1992 D millionaires in the wild. First, check for the D Mint mark, which stands for the Denver Mint. That'll be on the front of the coin, right next to Washington's ponytail. If you see a P or no mark at all, keep looking. It should be crisp and sharp. The design details should pop, almost like the quarter is yelling, "I'm different." Some call it the close AM design because the A and M in America, on the reverse, are closer together than usual. If it looks like an average quarter that's been through a laundromat brawl, it's probably not the one. But if it gleams like it was made for royalty and the details are tight, you just might be holding on to gold disguised as 25 cents. And hey, if you're unsure, take it to a coin dealer or have it graded by a third-party service like PCGS or NGC. These folks know their stuff. Rare coin values are driven by three things: rarity, demand, and condition. This particular quarter checks all three boxes. Only one known example in top-grade condition has hit the market. It's unique, it's mysterious, and collectors are throwing piles of cash at it like it's a VIP at a coin club IT sold at a high-profile auction, where elite collectors go toe-to-toe. Imagine a bunch of folks in suits with magnifying glasses and paddles raising bids like it's a coin-themed episode of Shark Tank. And if another one pops up, well, now that people know it can be worth millions, you better believe the bidding war will be hotter than a car seat in. But in the world of rare coins, that's just another Tuesday. Your spare change might be hiding secrets. That little clinking pile in your glove box or that jar on your dresser could be worth life-changing money. All it takes is one lucky find, one 1992 D quarter that stands out from the crowd. If you're just getting into coin collecting, this is your moment. Learn what to look for. Get a magnifying glass. Dig through your change. And for the love of shiny metal, don't spend a suspiciously fancy quarter on chewing gum. Now, if you enjoyed this little dive into the rich world of rare coins, do me a solid, hit that subscribe button. I've got loads more stories, tips, and coin collecting strategies coming your way. From pennies worth thousands to dimes that could pay off your car, we're just scratching the surface. And hey, you might be the next person to say, "I found a $3 million coin."